了横滨和东京被炸后的情形。我注视公路两旁的景象和路上日本男女的表情。我的总印象是横滨和东京的工厂都炸光了。我这时才体会到其真正的意义。无论男女，他们和我22年前在日本所见的已经太不相同，孰令改之？这却不能不叫我们正要审判的那些战犯们负责。他们扰乱了世界，荼毒了中国，而且葬送了他自己国家的前途。一个本可有所作为的国家，而招致这样的命运，真是自作孽不可活。这是历史上的一大悲剧，也是一大教训。
We affirm that as members of the International Military Tribunal of the Far East,
as members of the International Military Tribunal of the Far East,
we will duly administer justice according to law.
We will duly administer justice according to law.
Without fear, favor, or prejudice.
Without fear, favor, or prejudice.
According to our conscience and the best of our understanding.
According to our conscience and the best of our understanding.
And that we will not disclose or discover.
And that we will not disclose or discover.
The vote or opinion of any particular member of the tribunal.
The vote or opinion of any particular member of the tribunal.
Upon finding or sentence.
Upon finding or sentence.
But will preserve the inviolate secrecy of every member.
But will preserve the inviolate secrecy of every member.
So help us God.
So help us God.
Let us sit. Before we start, there are a few things I would like to clarify. First of all, we're not to be too formal amongst ourselves, so please just call me William. We should treat each other as equals and consider ourselves members of one family. I would hope that this will be a pleasant experience for all of us. Now, as the trial will be conducted on the basis of the common law system, the seating order of the judges will be as follows: the United States, Great Britain, China, the Soviet Union, Canada, France, Australia, the Netherlands, India, New Zealand, and the Philippines.
I can accept that arrangement.
Pardon me, what do you mean?
The sitting of the judges in this trial should follow the order of signatures on the Japanese instrument of surrender. China was second on the list. Therefore, the judge from China should be seated right after the United States.
My dear Mai, this is a courtroom, not a reenactment of the surrender.
Then perhaps Sir William will explain his reasons for this arrangement.
Dr. May, this is common practice.
Common practice? Whose practice? Isn't follow the order of signatures on the Japanese instrument of surrender common practice?
Dr. May, we're here to judge war criminals. Why make such a fuss over such a trivial matter?
This is no trivial matter. Besides, our concern here is what's right and what's wrong. Nothing trivial about it.
Dr. May, please suggest a fair method.
If we are not going to follow the order of signatures on the surrender document, maybe it may even be the fairest. We put our judges on the scale, and the sitting arrangement will be determined by weight.
The method you suggest is eminently fair, but appropriately only for boxing matches. This is a courtroom, not a boxing ring.
If the sitting arrangement is not going to be determined by weight, the only fair and just criterion is the order of signatures on the Japanese instrument of surrender. I have no wish at all to allow this international tribunal to become a boxing ring.
우리 같이 와! 아메리카 진리! 마카니타! 코니닉 칼레!
配合美军宪兵做完询问，司机被暂时留下继续做进一步调查。我和肖楠对司机都很愧疚，也都很感慨。
Come in.
Dr. May, there will be a rehearsal for tomorrow's opening ceremony at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Please be there on time and wear a traditional robe. Photographers will be present.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Seated. Since the International Military Tribunal of the Far East formally begins hearing its cases tomorrow, I will now announce the seating order of the judges for today's final dress rehearsal. The seating order of the judges will be as follows: the United States, Great Britain, China, the Soviet Union, Canada, France, Australia, the Netherlands, India, New Zealand, and the Philippines. Dr. May, please let me explain. Please calm down and listen.
I'm listening.
The main reason I placed the American and British judges to my left and right was because they have a better understanding of the common law. This will help the trial run more smoothly. This decision absolutely does not reflect any prejudice against China.
Forgive me for being frank. We all know that it is an international tribunal, not British or American. And I don't see any need to see the British and American judges in the center.
Dr. May, please look at this problem from another angle. With this arrangement, you will be seated between the American and the French judges rather than next to the Russian general. I would imagine that would please you.
Sir William, that's insulting. As a Chinese, it's my solemn duty to remind you that I didn't come to Tokyo to be pleased. My homeland, China, has been invaded and plundered by Japanese for over 50 years. To the Chinese people, Chinese-Japanese war criminals is a heavy responsibility, a grave responsibility. We are not here for pleasure.
Dr. May, I would like to solemnly remind you as well that this arrangement originated from an order given by the Supreme Commander MacArthur himself. It would be extremely unfortunate if your decision to refuse this arrangement resulted in friction in Chinese-American relations. Your government might not agree with your decision.
I refuse to accept this arrangement has no ground at all in any law or reason. In this war against Japanese aggression, China has suffered the most, for the longest, and the hardest. The United Kingdom, on the other hand, have been retreating and surrendering time and time again. And it's unthinkable that China's place in this trial should be relegated to a spot under the UK. And I don't believe the government of China will agree to this arrangement. And I doubt if it has really come from the Supreme Commander himself.
But hold on. Let me discuss this with the other judges. I'll have an answer for you in no more than 10 minutes. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Dr. May, but our colleagues unanimously see today is just a dress rehearsal and nothing more. Why don't we just take a few pictures at the rehearsal now, and then tonight we'll open a full discussion regarding the actual seating order for tomorrow's court.
Sir William, I have to disappoint you as well. I definitely will not participate in this rehearsal. The whole world's photographers and reporters are now out there in the courtroom. They're going to take photos and write reports on this sitting arrangement. When these photos and reports reach China, do you know what's going to happen? The entire Chinese people will reproach me for my cowardice and incompetence. If I agree to this arrangement, I'll be insulting my country. I'll be insulting all my countrymen's suffering, sacrifice, and perseverance in resisting Japanese aggression. Everything. So, William, can you understand? It is for this reason I will not take part in this rehearsal. As for myself, I shall report this matter to my government to see if they support me. If they don't, I shall resign immediately and ask them to replace me.
Please don't leave. How about this? I'll get my colleague's opinion on this again. I absolutely don't want you to leave. I'll be back in no more than 10 minutes.
I'll wait another 10 minutes.
Сейчас все грузы соберем, их пропаганду. Там бухло, ё-моё.
Конnichiwa.
Dr. May, you win. Your country should be proud to have a fighter like you.
I'm not a fighter. I'm a judge. A Chinese judge.
My dear May, could you do me a little favor?
Of course.
Please, call me William.
William.
キロもらえますか？よしこさん。はい。よしこさんも一緒に遊んでいきなさいよ。いいじゃないね。ごめんね、また行事があるよ。そう？残念だわ。じゃあね。じゃあね。また。
日本の敗戦のために
篠さん、約束したでしょ。戦争の話はしないって。
戦争の話はよそ。
でも日本は負けたんだ。
日本は負けたんだ。林に戻ってきたんだ。小細姐啊，我聽下次喺3年200千拉索頂摸我成個下，做到摸，有時換個有年我摸到做到頭摸，我冇睇落㗎，係咪咁咯？こそのヤシ君がどうして生きてきたかしてたのか。アメリカの2500tonもの所以等話東京35区公地区して8万人もの人間が死んだんだ。原子爆弾で広島や魚来たんで40万人もの人間が死んだんだ。その人たちはみんな日本に住むんだ。これ何の市民があるんだ。
あなたが上海と南京ではどのくらいの一般市民が死んだのか知ってるか？武汉大轰炸、重庆大轰炸、华北无人区，你知道有多少一般中国老百姓死在你所谓的日本皇军手里？有多少中国妇女被强奸？
以上は22の政治だけさてんだ。大体お前は新聞では人のとこ信じは書かないでならないか。
雄一さん、雄一さん。
こいつのことが世間なんだろ。
这个家庭因为战争的缘故，再也没有了欢乐。芳子告诉肖楠，哥哥和田正夫自打从中国战场回来后，每天只是喝酒度日，谁也不知道哥哥在中国到底遇到了什么。芳子的妹妹英子自从响应东条内阁号召退学，参加了从征服务团后，一直杳无音信。肖楠是大公报派驻东京跟随采访的记者，他战前在东京留学，和田芳子和北野雄一都曾经是他的同学。
Historic moment. The whole world is watching us. The whole situation just makes me a little uncomfortable.
Why is that?
I feel like I'm putting on a show here.
You're right.
I declare the trial of the 28 Japanese defendants formally begins. All of the defendants in this case were once leaders in Japan over the past several decades when Japanese power was at its peak. These include prime ministers, foreign ministers, treasury ministers, chiefs of staff, and military high command. No matter how high they once stood, they will be treated now exactly the same as the lowest ordinary soldier. We will assure the defendants that a careful examination will be made before this court regarding the nature and the number of charges brought against them by the prosecution's indictment, as well as the declaration of all applicable laws.
Honorable presiding judge and members of the court, I am Joseph Keenan, the chief prosecutor for this International Military Tribunal for the Far East and for the United States of America. The charter of the International Military Tribunal for the Far East clearly stipulates 5 separate charges with which the defendants have been indicted, as listed: premeditation, organization, initiation and/or execution of a war of aggression or a war in violation of international law, treaties, agreements, or assurances. In addition to these charges, participation in a common plan or conspiracy to accomplish any of the foregoing
Remove that man from the courtroom. Next, the International Military Tribunal for the Far East will hear the defendants' pleas to the charges brought against them by the prosecution.
弁護側はウェブ裁判長の議事動議を提出したいと思います。
Anybody with any objections to how this courtroom is run should put them in writing. The defense's oral argument is completely out of line. It's a despicable ambush, comparable to the sneak attack on Pearl Harbor.
この動議を取り下げるつもりはありません。また、当裁判所に在籍している判事全員の資格に対しても異議を申し立てます。当裁判は完全に小ビジネス的な傲慢や偏見に満ちたものであります。俗に言う勝てば官軍、負ければ賊軍という考え方から、勝って管理としてアジアの平和や共同繁栄のために心血を注いできた各被告の生死を決定しようとしております。私は当裁判所の公正性に疑問を抱くとともに、放送の尊厳さが損なわれることを非常に遺憾に思うものであります。
Silence!
Mr. Hirose, the courtroom is not a place for you to preach your theories or set your conditions. Now, your first point concerns me personally. Therefore, I will withdraw myself from a conference decision to be made by the other judges later.
他の10名の判事も国際軍事法廷における判事の資格を備えているとは考えられません。そうなると当裁判所の判決に公正を期することは到底不可能であります。異議を申し立てます。
What do you think would be fair?
アメリカ合衆国最高裁判所です。
Entirely out of the question. Court is adjourned. How could an international court, composed of 11 judges, appointed by their democratically elected governments and organized by the best minds of international law, lack the decorum of one federal court? This is absolute provocation. Since I am the target, I am willing to abide by a conference of the judges.
刚才在法庭上装疯的大川周明，是日本种族主义和军国主义的理论家，9·18事变直接组织者和参与者。后经盟军法医鉴定，认定他已患梅毒性脑炎而精神失常，无区分是非能力。这是这次审判中唯一一个靠装病逃脱罪责的战犯。美国的一位资深记者写道：“大川是个狂热分子、冒险家，典型的恶棍，满脑子帝国伟大之幻想。”
After our discussion, the 10 judges unanimously agreed with the second article of the tribunal, specifying in the Supreme Commander of the Allied Army's ability to appoint judges to the court on its basis of recommendations from their respective national governments. Therefore, we do not possess the power to decide appointment, dismissal, or withdrawal of any judges.
This means that the guilt or innocence of the 28 defendants will be based on the final verdict of this military tribunal. Next, the court will hear the defendants' pleas to the charges. The accused will state whether they plead guilty or not guilty to the prosecution charges brought against them in the indictment of this International Military Tribunal. Defendant Sadeo Araki, how do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
私の弁護士が回答することを求めます。
Petition is denied. The court requires for you to speak for yourself.
無罪です。
私は無罪であります。
私は無罪です。
無罪。無罪。無罪。
無罪。無罪。はい。私は無罪です。
すべての訴因に関しまして、私は無罪を主張いたします。
以日本战犯辩护团副团长东条英机的辩护律师广濑一郎为主导的日方辩护律师团组织庞大，并且人数众多，达100多人。辩护团在法庭上采取严当战略，不断制造事端，打乱审判的程序，使得审判进展得十分缓慢。向先生，现在你们国际检察局的力量，中国组最弱，美国人准备的最充足，苏联也来了70多人，中国检察组就你们几个人，真替你们发愁。
哎，事情没那么坏，我肯定第一仗会打得很漂亮的。我和纪南已经准备了2个杀手锏，肯定会是满堂彩的。
二位鱼好了。
嘿，老板娘，汉语讲得很标准嘛。
ケイタナがトドさん川地君は中学校先生者で亡くなりました。明日時間があったら警察局に一方に了してください。こんにちは。
起从征到中国的，现在政府回来了，红儿却成了游荡的亡魂。北野对中国人的仇恨因为红儿的死讯而加剧，这让我们都很担忧。当时的东京因为战争带来的对中国人的仇恨情绪，还是在一定程度上蔓延着。中日战争到底始于何时？这是东京审判中有关中国部分审理的第一焦点。日本关东军进驻东三省后，经常性的挑衅行为，导致此地区的中日关系日趋紧张。最终，以一场日军蓄意的谋杀事件——皇姑屯事件，挑起中日战争。
検察側は満州事変は日本による中国に対する侵略戦争の発端となった事件であるという独断的な指摘があります。それは事実を曲げております。明らかに局所的な衝突と正式な戦争とを混同しているものであります。
At the time, the Beijing government was the only Chinese government recognized by the international community, and as such, and had diplomatic relations with other countries. Zhang Zholin was the head of that government. I would like to ask the defense, when one country plots and succeeds in the assassination of the head of another government, if that is not an act of war between the two countries, then what is it?
検察側はどのような証拠をもってして張作霖爆死事件が日本軍によるものだと立証するのでしょうか。
This is a deposition given by former Japanese Navy Minister Keisuke Okada.
それでは検察側にお尋ねしますが、海軍大臣が陸軍に関する証言をしたとして、それにどれほどの信憑性があるのでしょうか。
Then who could give evidence that these events took place?
もちろん陸軍の関係者によるものです。
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to call the former Lieutenant General of the Japanese Army and former head of the Japanese Army Internal Affairs Office, Ryuichi Tanaka, as a witness.
Bring the witness in.
Please state your name.
田中隆吉です。
And your nationality?
日本です。
And your profession?
軍人でしたが、現在は退役しています。
What was your rank and post before your military retirement?
陸軍中将でした。退役前には陸軍省兵務局局長を務めていました。
Are you familiar with the Hwanggatun incident which occurred on June 4th, 1928?
よく知っています。
Who killed Zhang Zholin?
公文書を調べたことがあるのですが、当時関東軍の高級参謀であった川本大佐が計画実行したのです。
Order! Order!
1928年6月3日、南満線及び京豊線が交差する地点において、川本大佐が部下を率い、北京より来た列車を爆破しました。その列車に張作霖が乗っていたのです。そして翌日、張作霖は死んだのです。
Mr. Tanaka, considering the testimony you've just given, I want a direct answer to the following question. Do you think the Hwanggatun incident, the Shanghai incident, the September 18th incident, and the July 7th incident, which all occurred on Chinese soil, were planned, instigated, and carried out by Japan? Please tell the court the names of the persons who planned, instigated, and carried out these acts of war.
わかりました。あの中にも何人かいます。
Please, point out the individuals for us.
東條英機、土井原健二、板垣清志郎。
Order! Order! Mr. Defense Attorney. Mr. Defense Attorney. Mr. Hirose, please don't waste our time. If you have a question, please ask it. If not, please sit down.
証人にお聞きします。あなたは日本人なのですか？あなたは日本人なのですか？
Mr. Defense Attorney, I'm warning you.
もう質問はありません。
1946年8月10日，一直被羁押在苏联伯利看守所的末代皇帝溥仪，在苏联军方的陪同下，经海参崴来到东京。溥仪的出庭作证，使得审判更像一出极具戏剧化的大戏了。溥仪出庭，此事轰动了东京，引起了世界各国媒体的广泛关注。日本朝日新闻称，这是东京审判中一个划时代的日子。一个曾经被大日本帝国封为康德皇帝的儿皇帝，居然在军事审判中出庭作证，这在审判史上是前所未有的。
When you were Emperor of Manchukuo, what rights did you have?
我没有任何权利，一切都是日本人说了算。
Absolutely everything?
对。对了，我只有一个权利。
What's that?
那就是听他们告诉我他们所有决定的权利。
During this period, did you have freedom of movement?
自由？10几年当中，我没有任何自由而言，简直就是猴戏。
証人に聞きます。天皇陛下の弟君の秩父宮と話したのは自分自身で話したものですね。
那是你们让我准备的。
私はあなたが自分自身の言葉で話したかどうか、それを聞いてるんですよ。証人ははいかいいえで答えればいいんです。
是。
どうして目が潤んだんですか？どうして泣きそうになったんですか？陛下の援助や艦隊に感激してそうなったんですか？日本の国民があなたを歓迎したからですか？答えてください。どうして泣きそうになったんですか？
那是演戏。
証人は嘘を言ってる。あんたはペテン師だ。全ての罪を日本人になすりつけようとしているあんた自身も犯罪人じゃないか。最後にはあなたも戦争犯罪人として中国の裁判所にかけられるんですよ。
整整8天， 溥仪创造了东京审判中历时最长的作证记录，也顶住了以广濑一郎为首的战犯律师团包括威胁、恐吓的轮番反劫。8月27日，在最后一次作证后，溥仪在苏联和美军宪兵的保护下退庭。溥仪的作证直接证明了日本在满洲里的进驻是非法的侵略行为。因为日本实行严酷的战时新闻管制，并严令日军官兵与家人通信时不得提及战争期间的犯罪和不道德行为，日本国内老百姓对于日军残酷屠杀俘虏和平民的行为并不为更多人所知，甚至大部分日本人都不相信有南京大屠杀事件。经我提议，法官会议同意将南京大屠杀作为一个独立单元审理。
南京において大虐殺などというものは起こっておりません。キーナン検事のおっしゃる日本軍によって中国人捕虜、民間人、婦女子に対する組織的かつ残忍な虐殺、強姦が行われたという指摘は全く事実無根であります。また軍事的必要性を超えた家屋や財産の破壊という訴えも全て嘘であります。
My name is Robert Wilson. I'm an American doctor. I lived in Nanjing between January 1936 and August 1940.
In 1937, I was a professor of history at Jingling University.
From 1912 to 1940, I was pastor in the Episcopalian Church in Nanjing.
我姓武，叫武常德。
我叫尚德义，我家住南京中山路11号。
我是种田的。
Please tell us what you saw on December 13, 1937, after the Japanese army entered Nanjing.
Nanjing became hell on earth.
The Japanese army went into a killing frenzy, burning everything in sight.
Endless looting and rape.
Your Honors, we have film footage that was surreptitiously filmed by John McGee on December 22nd, 1937. I asked the court's permission to show this film.
证人，你的姓名？
我叫王德福。
职业？
我没有职业。
你靠什么活着？
现在我一直住在南京的般若寺里面。
在那以前你是做什么的？
高了偶地。
请你说明白一点。
就是别人都管我叫小偷。
1937年12月13日，在日本军队开进南京的时候，你在哪里？你有没有出去过？
出去过。
几个人一起出去的？
我们有4个人，我还有3个真正的和尚。我们碰到了日本兵，他们把我们抓住了。
日本兵又有几个？他们在做什么？
他们有10几个人在强奸一个中国姑娘。
他们要你们干什么？
他们逼着我们也去强奸那个中国姑娘。
你们答应了吗？
没有。
之后呢？
们用刺刀逼着我们，逼着我们把身上的衣服都脱了。他们逼着我们也去强奸那个中国姑娘，不然就要杀了我们。
之后呢？
明星师傅怎么都不肯。
他们怎么对付明星师傅？
他们把明星师傅身上的那个男人的东西给割下来了。
明星师傅死了吗？
当时他一直在地上滚，身上全是血。
当时那些日本兵，他们又在干什么？
笑，他们在那笑。
之后呢？
明空和明法师傅也不肯答应。
那明空和明法两位师傅的生殖器都让他们割下来了吗？
是。
他们都活下来了吗？
没有。
先ほどあなたは日本兵が本物の3人の僧侶に女性を犯すように脅したと言いましたよね。
是。
彼らはそれを断ったために最終的にはみんな死んでしまった。そうですね。
是。
ならあなたはどうして生き残ってるんですか。言われた通りにしたんじゃないのですか。質問に答えなさい。あなたはその女性を犯したんでしょ
う。是。我是強姦了他。
あなたは本当に脅迫されてそうしたんですか。それとも本当に自分からそうしたかったんですか。一体どうやって自分が脅迫されたということを証明するんですか。どうやって自分からはやってないということを証明するんですか。
我操你妈！我操你！我操你妈的！小日本鬼子！小日本鬼子！我操你
妈！日本と中国の戦争はアジアという大きな家庭の中で起こった兄弟喧嘩のようなものであります。日本がいささか強硬的な手段に出たのも避けられないことでありました。長い間耐え苦しみ、最終的には言うことを聞かない弟を追い出すようなことになってしまったのです。そのような行動に出たのも中国にできるだけ早く悔い改めてもらいたかったからであります。その兄の態度がいささか荒っぽかったかもしれませんが、その動機はあくまで弟のためであり、弟を愛するあまりにしたことであります。
And might I ask how the younger brother responded to the older brother's solicitude?
それは弟は理解しなかったのです。つまりその兄の愛というものをありがたいと思わなかったんです。
杀狗屁哥哥弟弟的，你们这完全是胡说八道，胡说八道！
远东国际军事法庭在最终的判决书中，对于发生在中国南京的大屠杀做了如下认定：在侵华日军占领南京的最初6个星期内，被屠杀的平民和俘虏总数达20万以上。这是远东国际军事法庭最慎重和最保守的估计。而在后来中国方面公布的调查统计数字显示，在南京遭到侵华日军屠杀的军民是30多万。 方子的妹妹英子也从中国回来了，她以一种对日本皇军的献身热情，参加了从征服务团，却成了日军的泄欲工具。
いらっしゃい。正雄さんじゃない？あ、よかった。生きて帰ってきてくれたのね。よかった。座って座って。今日私おごるから。よかった。でも元気そうでよかったわ。
小南，
とても嬉しいわ私も。
你认识那个人？
ゆっくりしてってね。
他是我一个朋友的哥哥。
啊。
太好了，又来了一位老客人。今天我请客。
正雄、本当に覚えてないのか？
お二人とも知り合いなの？よかった。
死にではいけない。
私は自分の判断だけを信じる。
よしも、死が4人だ。それは忘れるな。
よしこ、よしこ，马上我
哥怎么了？
你哥现在在小酒馆。哎。
死なじめ、俺たちの国で勝手なことをしやがって、このせでやろう。マサオ、こしなじともおのさん、これじゃ教えて日本が恥をかかされたんだ。心也もやかね아직구나我上tan다勾引着你们鬼子！
转眼到东京已经快1年了，不仅中国政府没想到，就连我这个身在其中的法官都没有想到，一场战胜国对战败国罪恶昭著的战犯的合法审判，竟会如此复杂和艰难。这里只有欢乐，可我怎么也融不进去。欢乐是别人的，我只是个看客而已。已经进入被告战犯个人辩护阶段，对向哲俊他们压力最大的是，马上就要开始的土肥原贤二和板垣征四郎。这2个战犯对发起和实施侵华战争起了至关重要的作用，欠下了中国人累累血债。如果在法庭上被这2个人打败，后果将不堪设想。当时的情况是，土肥原贤二采取一言不发的龟缩策略，试图利用英美法系的漏洞来逃脱审判，而板垣征四郎很是狂妄，自己写下了48页的辩护词，扬言要和中国检察团大战300回合。倪征玉作为中国检察组顾问组组长来到东京增援。
全ての訴因に関し、被告土井原はその罪を否定しており、こういう何の根拠もない起訴内容に対し、検察側に反証するまでもないと考えております。したがって 日本軍人としての尊厳を保つため被告人は個人反証を放棄いたします。
私は全ての訴因について無罪を主張いたします。日本政府は生活や戦争に苦しんでいる東北の民衆を何もせずにただ見ていればよかったというのでしょうか。同情や友好の念から彼らを救ったことが我々の罪となるのでしょうか。私は陸将になって以来軍の撤退や平和停戦を主張し続けてまいりました。検察側よりいかなる罪名を与えられようとも私自身は一貫して平和を愛する一日本人です。私に罪はございません。
You just said that the September 18th incident, also known as Battle on September 18, 1931, was never premeditated nor conspiracy. Is that correct?
そうです。
However, you admitted earlier that the Japanese Guangdong Army did formulate a battle plan before the Huanggutun incident. Did you not agree to it?
それは作戦計画というものをあなたに説明する必要があります。
I don't want to hear your explanation. My question is, did you report this battle plan to the Central Command and did they approve it?
そうです。
Then, how can you perpetuate your statement of no premeditation and conspiracy for the September 18 incident?
関東軍の兵力は中国東北軍の兵力に比べわずか1対20という劣勢にあり、向こうが攻撃してくる前にそれを防ぐ必要があったのです。それは自衛行為に過ぎないのです。
How did you know that the Northeast Army was going to attack you?
それは情報より判断したのです。だからそのような計画を立てたのです。
The information on hand. What information? Mr. Itagaki, don't forget you are in the courtroom. Only the evidence matters. If you are going to testify the Northeast Army was going to launch an attack on the Japanese Army, you will have to provide proof. In your defense brief, you stated that during the negotiations for the three-power accord between Japan, Germany, and Italy, you didn't advocate expanding the war. In addition, when the Zhang Gufeng incident occurred on the border between China and the Soviet Union, you tirelessly sought a peaceful solution. Is that correct?
そうです。
As a result, your emperor punished you for your actions. Is that correct? Isn't that right?
なぜ知ってるんですか?
I'm the one asking questions here, not you. Now answer me. Isn't that right?
いや、そんなことはありませんでした。
This document was found by Chinese prosecution team in the archives of the Japanese Army Internal Affairs Office. It is a journal kept by Saionji and Harada. It records in detail how the emperor severely reprimanded Itagaki for both these incidents. And you have the nerve to deny this ever happened? Your Honors, I now submit this evidence to the court. Please examine it and have it recorded. Near the end of your term as a minister of the army, you sent an emissary to China to meet with two individuals. The first premier of the Republic of China, Tang Shaoyi, and a former head of the northern warlords, Wu Peifu. Is that correct?
そうです。
Your emissary's purpose was to entice them to participate in the puppet organization you were trying to set up. Is that right?
いや、私はそんなことは知りません。
Oh, well, do you at least remember whom you sent? Was that person none other than the one who usurps the position of mayor of Shenyang, installed the puppet emperor Puyi, fraternized with the Japanese Guangdong army, plotted to bring self-rule to North China, instigated independence movement in Inner Mongolia, and incited traitors everywhere to set up puppet governments and traitorous organizations, never hesitated to do evil, and now sits at the defendant's table, namely Kenji Dohihara. Is that him? Answer me!
这是中国检察团最华彩的一次胜利，在对板垣整整10天的反击中，倪正玉对他的答辩词中所提到的事情一一盘问反驳，最终用指东打西的办法将一言不发的土肥原击溃。由东条内阁操纵扩大的这场战争，给亚洲带来灾难的同时，也给日本带来了深久的隐痛。这种隐痛在日本蔓延于战时和战后几10年，使得当时的年轻一代充满了迷茫、绝望，甚至疯狂。战败的惨痛命运彻底摧毁了很多人原本对大东亚圣战和东条英机的顶礼膜拜。日本向何处去？日本年轻一代在思考着这个问题的同时，也在忧虑着自己的命运和前途。战争这个怪兽吞噬着生命、荣誉、国土，也在吞噬着热血和理想。
ありがとうございました。
日本的人民都是很好的人民，但是为什么日本人民要这么迷信天皇呢？
那为什么中国人民那么迷信皇帝呢？
明日まべをさまよえば昔のことをぞしのばるる風の音よ雲のさまよよする波も貝の色も先生，先生，先生。
姉さん、助けてください！
这件事情后来成了一个悬案，凶手一直查无下落。自那天后，我和肖楠再也没去过那个小酒馆。接下来就要审判东条英机了，这又将是一场恶战。当时国际社会再度出现要求审判天皇的舆论热潮，法官会议也对此颇有争议。但自从麦克阿瑟和天皇密谈之后，这件事情就不了了之。后来魏博也明确表示对天皇及所有皇室不予起诉。
姉さん、私お蕎麦が食べたい。
こちらへどうぞ。桜子、早く案内して。
すみません。
お蕎麦と焼きフィルムください。
桜子、与党さん、手伝って。nhiều cái thôi, thế cái này để幸せですね。
1億国民は一緒に作戦しようということを応援しました。臨時議会はその応援に応じて30億円の臨時軍費追加予算案に通じました。
まず東條英機被告に代わり弁護を担当する私が被告人の言葉を述べさせていただきます。被告人東條英機は自分自身が法廷にて証言する以外いかなる証人も召喚せず、またいかなる証拠をも提出いたしません。以上です。続いて本人に公共書を読んでいただきます。
最後におそらくこれが本裁判の規則上私に与えられた最後の機会でありましょうから、もう一度述べさせていただきます。日本国の政策及び当時合法的にその役職について官僚たちが取ってきた方針は侵略ではなく搾取でもありません。我々は憲法や法律の定めるところに従ってことを進めてきたに過ぎません。しかし日本は厳しい現実に遭遇し、我々は国運を賭したにもかかわらず負けたのです。私はあくまで今回の戦争は自衛のためであり、 現在承認されている国際法に違反するものではないと最後まで主張いたします。敗戦の責任については総理大臣であった私の責任です。その意味においては私は進んで責任を負うものであります。供述人東條英機、昭和22年12月19日東京市ヶ谷にて。
Now, according to your reasoning, on the one hand, you carried out peaceful negotiations between Japan and China. On the other, Japan was occupying China with a powerful military force. Aren't those two contradictory?
何の矛盾もございません。
Did you ever contemplate that the invasion of Manchuria might turn the Chinese public against Japan?
中国の日本に対している反感はもっと以前からありました。しかし日本は満州を侵略したということは決してありません。
Quiet. How many Chinese people did the Japanese army kill?
はっきりとは分かりません。
This document was published by the Japanese General Headquarters. It reports that between July 1937 and June 1941, the Japanese army killed 2,015,000 Chinese people. Isn't it logical that by slaughtering 2 million Chinese lives, that it might rouse the fury of the Chinese people? Please answer the question.
そのことは大変遺憾に思います。
Many of those you butchered were innocent civilians. Why was the treatment of these uninvolved, innocent civilians so atrocious?
いわゆる民間人が戦争とは全く関係ないという考えは中国でも日本でも同じです。しかし中国の統帥者は民間人を指揮して日本を攻撃し日本を侮辱したのです。そのことが虐殺を招いたのであります。そのことが中国の統帥者の罪です。我々には関係ありません。
So not only did you not evacuate the troops, but you expanded the conflict, right?
私ははいとかいいえという答え方はしたくありません。
This is a courtroom. Your wants are irrelevant. Your answer is mandatory. So, yes or no?
いやり検察側のこのような尋問の仕方は認められません。
Objection overruled. The witness must answer the prosecutor's question, yes or no.
Answer me. Yes or no? No. Did Japan evacuate troops from China after you received instructions to form a cabinet in October 1941?
いいえ。しかしそれは
You already answered my question. I don't need an explanation. In your statement, you said that Japan's decision to go to war against the United States, Britain, and Holland was a direct result of those countries freezing Japan's assets on July 26, 1941, correct?
はい。
You've already told the court that the emperor loves peace, didn't you?
はい。
Furthermore, no Japanese official or commoner would dare to disobey the emperor's orders. Is that correct?
それは私の国民としての感情を言ってたのであって、天皇の責任問題とは別です。
But, as a matter of fact, Did you not initiate hostilities against the United States, Britain, and Holland?
私の内閣において戦争を決意いたしました。
If the emperor had opposed the war, would it still have happened?
日本が生き残るためには開戦のほか仕方がなかったのです。
Do you think that initiating hostilities is morally and legally acceptable?
間違ったことはしておりません。過去、現在、未来、正しいことをしたと思っております。
So if you and your colleagues were acquitted, you would go right back out and do it again? You would launch more invasions and start more wars?
そうです。
The prosecution would like to announce that we have completed our cross-examination of Hideki Tojo.
The 817th session of the International Military Tribunal for the Far East is now begun. Next, the prosecution will present its closing argument.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, and members of the court, all of the accused joined in the formulation and execution of a plan, a conspiracy whose purpose was to establish Japan's military, political, and economic control over the countries within the Pacific and Indian Oceans. In order to achieve this goal, Japan alone, or working with other countries of like mind, embarked on a war of aggression to subjugate all who stood in their way. My prosecution team and I have produced more than enough evidence to prove the participation of the accused in these criminal actions. Throughout the history of civilization, no one has ever seen human nature at such a peak of cruelty and barbarity. Countless people have died horrendous, unthinkable deaths to feed Japan's insatiable appetite for expansion. By their actions, they have challenged human civilization. They have challenged peace, and they have challenged the whole world. Their common objective, a criminal objective, was to ensure the domination of Japan's empire. There is no greater crime than plotting and executing a war of aggression. The security of the world and its people was threatened by this plot and destroyed by this war, the only possible outcome of which is the great suffering the world has faced. Therefore, I, Joseph Keenan, on behalf of my colleagues in the Allied prosecution team, solemnly request the honorable judges of the International Military Tribunal for the Far East to severely punish those responsible for this horrible war of aggression. In the name of justice, in the spirit of compassion, and in the name of humanity.
presentation of cases before the International Military Tribunal of the Far East is concluded. The verdict will be announced after the judge's final deliberations. Until that time, the court is in recess.
雄一さん、何するつもり？
ここ저다 거지어 다명리 신나노 스네와 신나 히쿠노 다명리
거지어 크루스타노와 코노 혼내다.
또 안 달란다. 더 이상 굳이殺かんだ。お前は子供かいと殺しのみっと国家とはいいのか。こっちはあんなに人流だったのに当時人殺人鬼に殺してしまったんだ。率直的に殺さなければいけなかったんだ。愛人のことをでけよ許せない。愛していやよしこ没有事了，对不对？你说句话好不好？说话，我不回去了，我们不分手了，你说句话好不好？よしこ。
远东国际军事法庭进入了最后的量刑阶段，11国法官对量刑意见分歧很大，并且逐渐出现对立情绪，特别是在对东条英机等25名战犯是否应该判处绞刑的问题上发生了激烈争执。
是量刑的问题是吗？昨天英国《泰晤士报》上一个英国记者，他的预测非常惊人。他 谈到是否使用死刑的问题上，他说11国的法官将会分成2派，而且不赞同使用死刑的居多呀。
什么都别问了，我也什么都不能跟你说。人就是要深受其害，才能真正意识到战争的罪行和可怕。我从来不后悔什么，可是今天我自己后悔选择来日本，至今死相遇，不肯过江东。
梅如敖，你想学项羽是不是？你想死是不是？要是你死，就能让法官站在你这一边，就能让那些战犯得到应有的惩罚。那你现在就从这个窗口跳下去，老子绝不拦你。你以为这样就是以死明志吗？胡扯！我看你整个就是个懦夫。你这么感慨，就能够感天动地吗？你这么发发脾气、发发牢骚，那些法官就会站到你这一面吗？行动，拿出你的行动来！我们湖南有句老话，只要你打不死老子，老子就会攒起来。
老子就要站起来！
Unless someone has something new to add, we will begin voting. All right. Since no one has anything left to contribute, let's get started.
So, William, may I have a last speech?
Of course.
Thank you. Do you mind to give me a glass of water, please? We all agree that the criminals are guilty. But we cannot agree if they should be hanged for what they did. A lot of innocent people died in the war. They can only rest in peace when these criminals are punished by the death penalty. Mr. Bernard, you were saying that a country cannot be really civilized until it has abolished the death penalty.
Absolutely right.
I can agree with you to an extent. But I have doubts.
May, I'd be happy to discuss it.
I can see civilization is important to you. But what about life? Do you value life, Mr. Bernard?
I don't think that I need to answer that question. You should already know the answer perfectly well.
I think you will not deny that life is precious, as man lives only once. This glass represents human beings. The water it is, civilization. Forgive my rudeness. Civilization is a product of man. There can't be civilization when there's no human being. Mr. Powell?
May, sit down, please. You want to discuss Buddhism with me?
I know very little about Buddhism, but I respect it a lot. As a child, I learned from my parents that Buddhists teach people to do good and not evil. Is that right?
That's a fundamental idea.
So Buddhism rewards goodness. Does it punish evil?
Yes, but Buddhism says that punishment is carried out the next life.
That means if someone does evil in this lifetime, he will pay for it in the next, right?
That's right.
Then what's going to stop the crimes here and now? Can Buddha forbid Japan to start another war? You think Hidaki Tojo believed in Buddha?
Buddha will help him believe. Buddha will love him and forgive him for everything he's done.
In the end, Buddha will embrace everyone. That's how his power works.
That's far away in the future. Like Buddha, we all long for a world that's no war, no crimes. But this longing has done nothing to forbid any of the evil that came out in this war. I do not question Buddha's teachings, but I doubt very much the ability of human beings to follow Buddha to his utopia. Buddha said, "Belief makes the dream come true." But what if these criminals do not believe in Buddha at all? I agree with Jesus in the Christian Bible. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what's God's. Mr. Powell, why have we come to here? The judges from 11 countries are here to determine if crimes are committed. If so, punish them according to law.
Don't try to persuade me anymore. I still think my viewpoint is correct.
Mr. Powell, I have no desire to continue either. I leave you with an old Greek saying, destiny knows better than any of us.
Well, I can see that I'm next. Please.
Sir William, and my fellow judges, you are all legal experts, so I invite you to consider this question together. What is law? What is its function? After over 2 years and 870 long hearings, we finally determined the criminals are guilty. Yet in the past week, we dragged our feet over the questions of civilization and religion. Gentlemen, this is not a university classroom. This is not a temple. This is a court of law. We should be focusing on the appropriate penalty for such serious crimes. In my opinion, religion tells us what we should do to reach heaven. On the other hand, the law lays down clearly what we should not do or will be punished by death if crimes deserved it. This is law. This is why I insist on the death penalty. In expanding its territory and plundering other countries' resources, Japan caused the death of many innocent people. Its soldiers robbed, raped, tortured, slaughtered millions of Chinese, Filipinos, Englishmen, Americans, and the people of many other nationalities. Isn't it enough to justify the death sentence? If the law could not punish Japan and the criminals in this severe way, who could guarantee that Japan will not start another war? Who could guarantee that Japan will not invade another country? Who dares guarantee that Japan's militarism will not rise again? Which one of you dares make these guarantees? All that I want to say, what I need to say, I've said it. Let us cast our vote now, for the sake of those who died in the war, so they can rest in peace. Please be prudent, because they're watching us.
No for the death penalty. No. Yes for the death penalty. No. No. Yes. No. Yes. 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 Gentlemen, as you can see, the vote is 5-5. This is the last ballot. This last ballot will decide everything. Yes. Believes that there is no need to consider whether or not the accused are guilty of the first charge in the indictment. Conspiracy to violate various treaties and accords Japan had with other countries. It is unnecessary because the charge of executing a plot along with other countries to wage an aggressive war is already the gravest crime one can commit. The court finds all the Japanese defendants guilty as charged.
远东国际军事法庭终于走到了今天，最后7名战犯被处以极刑。至今我都不敢回想，如果今天上午我们这些赞同死刑的法官里不到6票的话，我会怎么样？中国人又会怎么样？世界又会怎么样？还有，我们所有的法官都起过誓，我们永远都不能透露我们谁赞同了死刑，谁反对了死刑。我只能说，我尽力了。
光影秀。